Okay, so ready to unlock the power of your subconscious mind.
Like we are.
We took a deep dive into Dr. Joseph Murphy's classic book, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind.
It's a classic for a reason.
And let me tell you, this stuff is mind-blowing.
Absolutely.
We're talking about healing, wealth, problem solving, all through the lens of this incredible power we all have within us.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating is that Dr. Murphy doesn't see the conscious and subconscious as like two separate minds.
Okay.
He describes them as two spheres of activity within one mind.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
Spheres of activity. So help me visualize this. What's a good analogy?
Think of it like a ship.
Okay.
The conscious mind is the captain making the decisions, steering the ship,
Okay.
while the subconscious is the crew carrying out those orders without question. It's not judging those orders as good or bad. It just acts on them.
So if I'm understanding this right, if we want to change our lives, we need to change the orders the captain is giving.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We need to change what our conscious mind believes so the subconscious can carry out those new positive instructions.
Exactly. And that's where the power of suggestion comes in.
Now, when you say suggestion,
Yeah.
you're not just talking about like hints from friends.
Right. Dr. Murphy talks about two types of suggestion.
Okay.
Auto-suggestion, which is what you suggest to yourself, and heterosuggestion, which is suggestions coming from other people.
Okay.
Think of auto-suggestion like pep talks. You give yourself, I can do this. I am strong, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Heterosuggestion is more like when someone else plants an idea in your mind, whether it's positive or negative.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But Dr. Murphy takes this a step further, right?
Yes.
He says even our internal suggestions, the things we tell ourselves, have a powerful impact on our subconscious.
Absolutely. He tells this amazing story about Enrico Caruso.
Okay.
The famous opera singer, Caruso, suffered from terrible stage fright.
He actually felt like there were two versions of himself.
Okay.
A little me filled with doubt
Yeah.
and a big me full of confidence.
Oh, I can relate to that.
Right.
We've all got that inner critic sometimes.
Right. But Caruso learned to consciously shift his internal dialogue to focus on the big me,
Okay.
his strength and talent. And by doing that, he was able to overcome his stage fright.
So it's like, even if those negative thoughts pop up, that little me,
Yeah.
we can choose to focus on the positive, the big me,
Yeah.
and feed those suggestions to our subconscious instead.
Exactly. But here's the catch. And it's a big one. The subconscious doesn't distinguish between good and bad suggestions. It just acts on what it's given.
Okay.
So if you're constantly telling yourself, I'm not good enough, or I'll never succeed,
Yeah.
your subconscious is going to take that and run with it.
That's kind of scary, actually.
Yeah.
It makes you realize how important it is to be mindful of our thoughts.
Absolutely.
Even the ones that seem fleeting.
It really does. And it's not just about positive thinking. It's about understanding that we're literally programming our subconscious with every thought, every belief, every word we speak.
Okay, so let's talk about how this actually plays out in our lives.
Okay.
Dr. Murphy shares some pretty wild stories about healing. And one of the most powerful is his own personal experience.
Yeah.
He actually healed himself from a sarcoma, a malignant tumor, using the power of his subconscious.
What's fascinating here is that Dr. Murphy believed that if the subconscious mind can create the body,
Wow.
it can also heal it by tapping into that creative power. He believed he could literally will himself back to health.
Wait, so he's saying that our thoughts can actually have a physical impact on our bodies. That's a pretty bold statement.
It is, but he doesn't just throw this idea out there.
Okay.
He explains a specific technique for conveying this idea of perfect health to the subconscious,
Okay.
which he calls the Protestant minister's method. It involves deeply relaxing the body and mind, and then repeating affirmations of perfect health.
So it's similar to those visualization techniques you hear about, where you imagine yourself already healthy and whole.
Exactly. The key, according to Dr. Murphy, is to fully embrace those affirmations, to truly believe in the power of the subconscious to heal.
And this isn't just about physical healing, right?
Yeah.
He talks about mental and emotional healing, too.
Absolutely. It all comes back to the idea that our thoughts and beliefs have a profound impact on our overall well-being, mind, body, and spirit.
Okay, but let's get real for a second.
Okay.
Can you really just think your way to wealth?
Yeah.
That sounds a little too good to be true.
Dr. Murphy's perspective on this is that wealth is a subconscious conviction,
Okay.
not just wishful thinking.
Oh, yeah.
It's about building the idea of abundance into your mind, not just repeating affirmations without truly believing them. He talks about this pharmacist who mentally built his successful store brick by brick in his mind before it even existed in the real world.
Wow. So he had this detailed vision, this blueprint of what he wanted to create, and his subconscious helped him bring it to life.
Exactly. But he also shares a cautionary tale about a pickpocket.
Okay.
Whose guilt and fear actually attracted trouble and ultimately led to his downfall.
So it's a double-edged sword, right?
It is.
The subconscious responds to both positive and negative beliefs.
Right. It highlights the importance of being mindful of the thoughts we're feeding our subconscious because they will manifest in our experience.
Okay, this is already blowing my mind.
Yeah.
But Dr. Murphy doesn't stop there.
No?
He talks about using the subconscious for problem solving. And this is where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
He suggests presenting a problem clearly to your subconscious just before you go to sleep, trusting it to work on it while you rest.
And he's got some pretty incredible examples to back this up.
Like?
Remember that chemist who visualized a snake biting its tail, which led him to discover the structure of the benzene ring?
Yeah, and wasn't there also a story about Professor Agassiz who saw the missing details of a fossil fish in a dream?
Right, and let's not forget Dr. Banting's discovery of insulin.
Oh, right.
Also attributed to a dream-inspired insight.
Yeah.
There's even a story about a steel worker who won a $15,000 prize for a design that came to him in a dream.
Okay, that's just wild.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder what our subconscious minds are capable of if we give them the space and trust to work their magic.
Absolutely.
So if we're understanding this right, our subconscious is constantly working even when we're not consciously aware of it.
Exactly. It's like this incredible resource that we all have access to, but we often don't even realize it's there.
Well, now that we do realize it's there, let's talk about how to use it in a very practical, everyday way. Let's talk about relationships.
Okay, so when it comes to relationships, Dr. Murphy suggests that our subconscious beliefs and patterns are what really shape our interactions and who we attract into our lives.
So it's not just about swiping right or left. It's about understanding what's going on beneath the surface in our subconscious.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He even shares a story about a woman who used these subconscious techniques to attract her ideal husband.
Hold on. Is he saying we can manifest our soulmate just by thinking about them?
Well, it's more nuanced than that.
Okay.
It's about understanding the qualities you desire in a partner and then working on your own subconscious beliefs
Okay.
about love and relationships to align with that vision.
Okay. That makes more sense. But what about the tough stuff like divorce? Does Dr. Murphy address that?
He does, and he doesn't sugarcoat it. He sees divorce as an individual problem and sometimes a necessary step.
Okay.
He suggests that working with the subconscious can help people determine what's truly right for them in their relationships.
So it's not about finding some magic formula for a happily ever after.
No.
It's about doing the inner work to understand our own needs and patterns.
Right. And speaking of inner work, Dr. Murphy has this powerful statement that really made me stop and think. Life plays no favorites.
What does he mean by that?
He believes that a lot of our suffering comes from resisting the natural flow of life. And forgiveness, he says, is the key to releasing that resistance.
He even tells a story about a man who forgave himself for a past wrong. And that act of forgiveness actually led to physical healing as well.
It's amazing how interconnected our mental, emotional, and physical well-being really are.
Forgiveness is definitely powerful.
Yeah.
But so is fear. It can be such a debilitating force in our lives.
Absolutely.
What does Dr. Murphy have to say about that?
He makes an important distinction between normal fear, which is protective, and abnormal fear, which comes from limiting beliefs and can hold us back from living our full potential.
So like being afraid of a bear chasing you is normal.
Yeah.
But being afraid to speak up in a meeting because you think you're not good enough, that's abnormal fear.
Exactly. He tells this inspiring story about a young woman who overcame debilitating stage fright using visualization and positive autosuggestion. She mentally rehearsed, feeling confident and poised, and she ended up giving a stellar performance.
See, that's what I love about Dr. Murphy.
Yeah.
He gives you practical tools, not just abstract concepts.
Right, and he even offers what he calls a master technique for overcoming fear.
Okay, what's that?
He says you need to mentally act as if you're already free from that fear.
Okay.
So if you're afraid of public speaking, imagine yourself speaking confidently and effortlessly to a large audience. Feel the energy, the connection, the sense of accomplishment.
So basically, you're tricking your subconscious into believing it's already true, and then it starts to manifest that reality.
Exactly. The subconscious doesn't argue.
Right.
It accepts whatever we impress upon it.
Mm-hmm.
So if we can embody that feeling of freedom from fear, our subconscious will eventually catch up.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here, from the duality of mind to the power of suggestion and how it all plays out in our lives, our health, wealth relationships, and even our ability to overcome fear. What else can we expect as we continue this deep dive?
Well, next we'll explore some of Dr. Murphy's specific techniques for actually harnessing this incredible power. Things like visualization affirmations, and even how to use the power of sleep to access the wisdom of your subconscious mind.
I'm intrigued.
Trust me, you won't want to miss it.
Welcome back. Last time we dove headfirst into the world of the subconscious mind with Dr. Joseph Murphy's incredible book.
It really is an incredible book.
We talked about how this hidden power within us shapes so much of our lives, our health, our wealth, our relationships, even our fears.
It really does touch on every aspect of life, doesn't it?
It really does, but this time we're getting practical.
Okay.
Because knowing about the subconscious is one thing, but actually putting that knowledge into practice, that's how we transform our lives.
That's how we make it real.
Right.
Yeah.
So where do we start? What are some of the techniques Dr. Murphy lays out for actually harnessing this incredible power?
Well, one of the first things Dr. Murphy talks about is the importance of building a strong mental blueprint.
Okay, a blueprint.
He uses the analogy of building a house. You wouldn't just start throwing materials together without a clear plan.
Yeah. Definitely not. You'd have architect's blueprints, the whole 9 yards. You need to know exactly what you're building before you even start.
He says it's the same with our lives. Our thoughts and mental images are like blueprints for our reality.
So if we're constantly dwelling on fear, lack, and limitation, that's what we're going to end up building in our lives.
Exactly. But here's the good news.
Okay.
We can change the blueprint.
I like that.
We can consciously choose to focus on thoughts of abundance, health, happiness, and success.
Okay, I love the idea of redesigning my life, but how do I actually do that?
Yeah.
It can't be as simple as just telling myself to think positive, right?
You're right. It's deeper than that. This is where Dr. Murphy's teachings on scientific prayer come in.
Now, when I hear scientific prayer, I'm picturing lab coats and equations. What exactly does that mean?
I know, it's kind of a funny term, right? It's not about reciting memorized prayers.
Yeah.
It's about understanding the universal laws of mind that govern how our thoughts manifest in our experience. It's about aligning our conscious and subconscious minds to create the reality we desire.
So it's more about understanding the science behind how our thoughts create our reality, not just blindly hoping for the best.
Exactly. And one technique Dr. Murphy highlights is the visualization technique. He says it's one of the easiest and most effective ways to formulate an idea and impress it upon your subconscious mind.
Okay, I've heard of visualization, but how does it actually work?
It's about creating a vivid mental picture of what you want to experience, seeing it, feeling it, believing it as if it were already real.
So if I want to get a promotion at work,
Yeah.
I should visualize myself sitting in that corner office, feeling that sense of accomplishment.
Exactly. Dr. Murphy even shares how he uses visualization before giving a lecture. He visualizes the audience, filled with people feeling inspired, healed, and transformed. And guess what?
What?
He says almost every Sunday, people tell him their prayers were answered.
Wow, that's powerful.
It is.
It makes sense, though, if you can truly believe it, maybe your subconscious mind can make it happen.
Yeah, and I think belief is really the key here.
But what about affirmations? How are those different from visualization?
Well, affirmations are more about stating something is true.
Okay.
Whereas visualization is about creating a mental picture. Dr. Murphy calls this the affirmative method. And he says the key is to understand the truth of what you're affirming.
So it's not about trying to force something to be true that isn't, it's about aligning your thoughts with universal truths.
Exactly. For example, he tells a story about praying for his sister, who was scheduled for surgery to remove gallstones. Instead of focusing on the diagnosis and symptoms, he affirmed her perfect health and wholeness. And what do you know?
What happened?
The doctors were shocked to find that the gallstones had completely disappeared.
That's incredible. Okay, so we've got visualization and affirmations.
Yes.
What other techniques does he talk about?
Well, there's also the decree method, which is all about using your words with conviction and power.
Oh, the decree method.
Dr. Murphy says the power of a decree lies in the feeling and faith behind it. It's about aligning yourself with the power of the universe and declaring your intention with unwavering belief.
Wait, so are you saying I can just decree something like winning the lottery and it will happen?
Well, he wouldn't say it's about trying to manipulate the universe.
Okay.
It's more about recognizing that your thoughts and words have power, and when you align them with your deepest desires, incredible things can happen. He shares a story about a young woman who used this method to create distance from an unwanted suitor.
Oh, wow.
She simply decreed that he was in his right place and she was free, and miraculously he disappeared from her life.
Okay, so it's not about controlling the universe. It's about taking control of your own thoughts and beliefs and aligning them with what you want to experience.
Exactly. And remember, Dr. Murphy emphasizes that the subconscious doesn't argue, it accepts whatever we impress upon it. So if you're constantly saying things like, I can't afford that, or I'm not good enough, you're actually programming your subconscious mind for lack and limitation.
It's like we're constantly giving ourselves these little subliminal messages and our subconscious is taking notes.
It really is. That's why it's so important to be mindful of our self-talk. Our words have incredible power, especially when we speak them with feeling and conviction.
Okay, so we've talked about visualization, affirmations, and decrees, but what about all that negative baggage we carry around?
Yeah.
What about past hurts and grudges? Does Dr. Murphy address that?
Absolutely. He dedicates a whole chapter to using the subconscious mind for forgiveness.
Okay, forgiveness.
He believes that much of our suffering comes from holding on to resentment, anger, and guilt.
I think we can all relate to that.
Yeah.
Holding on to those negative emotions can really weigh you down.
He reminds us that forgiveness isn't about condoning wrong actions. It's about releasing ourselves from the negative energy that's keeping us stuck.
Right.
He shares a story about a man who forgave himself for a past mistake. And that act of forgiveness led to both physical and emotional healing.
So forgiveness is really about freeing ourselves, not the person who hurt us.
Exactly. And he highlights this powerful truth. To understand all is to forgive all.
That's deep. So it's about having compassion and understanding, not just letting someone off the hook.
Right. When we can see that everyone is doing the best they can with the understanding they have, it becomes easier to let go of judgment and resentment.
Okay, but let's be real. Forgiveness is hard, especially when we've been deeply hurt.
Dr. Murphy acknowledges that. He says it takes effort, a conscious choice to shift your mental patterns. He encourages us to examine our beliefs and see if they're serving us. Are we holding on to stories that are keeping us trapped in pain and resentment?
Sometimes it feels easier to hold on to the anger than to actually let go.
He says it's a choice, though.
Yeah.
We can choose to stay stuck in the past, or we can choose to forgive and free ourselves. And he suggests a powerful practice. Mentally bless the person who hurt you, wish them well, and know that they too are on their own journey.
Wow, that's a powerful practice.
Okay.
So we've tackled forgiveness. Now, what about fear? We touched on it a bit in the last part, but I know Dr. Murphy has a lot to say about overcoming fear.
He does. He reminds us that fear is a powerful force in many people's lives. But he also emphasizes that we have the power to overcome it.
We talked before about the difference between normal protective fear and abnormal fear, which comes from those limiting beliefs.
Right, and he shares that story about a young woman who used visualization and positive autosuggestion to overcome debilitating stage fright. She mentally rehearsed, feeling confident and poised, and she ended up giving a stellar performance.
So it's like training your mind to react differently to the things that scare you.
Exactly. And he also introduces the master technique for overcoming fear, which is to mentally act as if you're already free from that fear.
So if you're afraid of public speaking, you imagine yourself speaking confidently and effortlessly to a large audience, feeling that connection, the energy, the sense of accomplishment.
Exactly. The idea is that by embodying the feeling of freedom from fear, the subconscious mind will eventually catch up and manifest that reality.
That's pretty powerful stuff. Okay, so we've explored some of Dr. Murphy's key techniques: visualization, affirmations, decrees, and even the practice of forgiveness. What else does he have in store for us?
Well, he also dives into the power of sleep. You know, people say sleep on it when you're struggling with a decision. Dr. Murphy takes it a step further. He emphasizes that the subconscious mind is constantly working even when we're asleep.
So it's not just about resting our physical bodies, it's about giving our subconscious time to process and work on things.
Exactly. He even suggests that we can give our subconscious mind specific instructions before we go to sleep, like asking for guidance on a problem or inspiration for a creative project.
So like, hey, subconscious, while I'm sleeping, can you work on finding me a solution to this problem?
Exactly. He tells a story about Robert Louis Stevenson, the famous author.
Okay.
Stevenson had a habit of giving his subconscious mind instructions every night before sleep, asking for stories and ideas.
And did it work?
According to Stevenson, absolutely. He said his subconscious mind delivered, providing him with a wealth of material for his writing. Dr. Murphy also shares examples of people receiving solutions to problems and even winning large sums of money through dream-inspired insights.
I have to admit, I feel a little guilty now about all those years I spent scrolling through social media before bed instead of tapping into this incredible power.
Me too.
No.
It makes you realize that we're missing out on this amazing opportunity to connect with the deeper wisdom within us.
All right, we've covered a lot of ground here. Visualization, affirmations, decrease forgiveness, and now even utilizing the power of sleep. What else can we expect as we continue this deep dive?
Well, next time we're going to explore some of Dr. Murphy's more thought-provoking ideas. We'll delve into his perspective on aging, the meaning of life, and the ultimate power that lies within each of us.
Welcome back. So far in our deep dive into the power of your subconscious mind, we've uncovered some pretty amazing stuff.
It really is a fascinating book, isn't it?
We've talked about how to use our subconscious to heal, attract wealth, solve problems, improve relationships, and even overcome fear.
It's amazing how much ground Dr. Murphy covers.
It really is, but he doesn't stop there. He takes us even deeper into some really big questions about life itself.
You're right, like aging, for instance.
Okay, let's start with aging.
Yeah.
It's something we all experience, but our society tends to view it in such a negative light. What's Dr. Murphy's take on it?
Well, he completely flips the script on how we think about aging. Instead of seeing it as a decline, he presents it as a natural evolution, a continuous unfolding of potential.
I like that.
Yeah, he even calls it graduating to a better job.
I love that it's like retirement isn't an end, it's a new beginning, a chance to explore new passions, contribute our wisdom to the world, and maybe even learn a few new things.
Right. He points out that some of history's greatest figures achieved incredible things later in life. Cato learned Greek at 80.
Wow.
Michelangelo was still painting masterpieces at 80, and Tennyson wrote Crossing the Bar at 83.
That's so inspiring.
It is.
It's like that saying, you're never too old to learn something new, but Dr. Murphy goes even further, right?
Yeah.
He says our minds don't actually age.
Exactly. He reminds us that while our bodies may slow down, our conscious minds can become even more active and alert when we connect with the infinite wisdom of our subconscious.
It makes me wonder if our society's obsession with youth is actually preventing us from fully embracing the wisdom and experience that come with age.
That's a really good point.
Okay, so if our minds don't have to age, what's the secret to staying youthful in mind and spirit?
Dr. Murphy says it all comes back to our mental attitude. He encourages us to tap into the miraculous self-renewing power of our subconscious minds.
Okay.
It's about feeling inspired, rejuvenated, and revitalized, just as we did in our younger years.
It's like we have this power within us to choose how we age. Not just physically, but mentally and emotionally as well. But Dr. Murphy doesn't shy away from the bigger questions either, does he?
Nope.
What does he say about the meaning of life?
Well, he reminds us that life is a journey of continuous growth and evolution, a path that has no end even beyond what we call death.
He even compares life to electricity. We may not fully comprehend it, but we can learn to harness it and use it in countless ways.
Yeah, it reminds me of that famous Thomas Edison quote.
Oh, yeah.
When asked to define electricity, he said, "Madam, electricity is use it."
I love that.
Dr. Murphy would probably say the same about life. Life is live it.
So simple, but so profound. So what does Dr. Murphy say is the key to living a truly fulfilling life?
He emphasizes that true happiness comes from knowing ourselves, connecting with that infinite source of wisdom and power within us, and expressing that power in the world through our unique talents and abilities.
So it's not about chasing external things, it's about finding that inner peace and fulfillment.
Exactly, and he reminds us that the most important journey we'll ever take is the journey inward. It's all about exploring our own minds and discovering the limitless potential that lies within.
Wow, we've covered so much ground in this deep dive. We've explored the incredible power of the subconscious mind and learned practical techniques for harnessing that power. We've even touched on some of life's biggest questions. What do you hope our listeners take away from all of this?
I hope they realize that they're not limited by their circumstances, their past, or even their age. The power to create the life they desire lies within them, in the depths of their subconscious minds.
And Dr. Murphy has given us a roadmap to unlock that power and make those dreams a reality.
He really has.
So to sum it up, in Dr. Murphy's words, go forth and live a full, happy, and abundant life. The power is within you. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the power of your subconscious mind.
It's been a pleasure.